Hi, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of The Wayward Dragons, where we are going to be kind of doing an intro and talking about. We're going to do a little bit different order, but we're going to be talking about chakras. We're
Yep.
actually going to start with the seventh chakra and
Yes.
then bounce around from there, dropping back down to the first three in our second episode and the final three in our uh, third episode.
Yeah.
I get that right?
Huh?
I said I got that right, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize the actual order for the chakras.
That's fine.
I did not realize that when I wrote this. So
That's
that's part
fine.
of my bad.
We'll blame the government.
Yep. Because I have no idea. I had none.
I just pretend to have an idea most of the time.
Yeah. Same. No one knows that I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
well, if
I
you
love those
act
memes
like you
that
know
pop
what
up.
you're doing,
Huh?
so as long as you act like you know what you're doing,
Yeah, that's all that matters.
yeah.
Like, I love those memes that pop up where it's like, does any of us know what we're doing? Like, at all?
I had a teacher in, I want to say it was middle school, but it may have been high school, who told us a story about how he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
but he found a clipboard and picked it up and just kept walking, and no one questioned him because he was holding a clipboard.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a, as long as you act like you know what you're doing and you belong and you look like it, nobody's going to question you.
No.
So just, fake it till you make it.
Yeah. For real. Absolutely. But how are you?
I'm good. No real complaints, no real, I've been having a little bit of knee issue, but that's just because I'm old and decrepit and have not been taking me time and time for me to take care of myself. So I need to double down on that.
Important. That's important.
But yeah, no. Other than that, I'm all right. Copacetic. Nothing too crazy.
Nothing too exciting. I had that moment. So my husband, his work revolves around the seasons. So when it's like that weird where it's not cold enough to turn your furnace on, but it's not hot enough to turn your AC on, he doesn't work because people, and when it's broke, they just leave the windows open until they have to turn it on. So he was home for like 2 months before our wedding, and I wanted to kill him because him being home all the time impacted me having me time.
Yeah.
Where I could.
And I mean, people don't realize how important just, even if you're an extrovert, having you time and time just for yourself and reflecting on what you need is so freaking important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I love you, but you need to go find something to do for a couple hours because I need to just sit in silence in my house with nothing.
Yep.
And read. Or have my own podcast on, like, that I want to listen to. Like, you need to go do something else. You being here is driving me nuts. Like,
well, that's
love you.
So the funny thing is that my grandma and grandpa, they were, I don't even know how many years they were married, but they were married for years. And that was always something with her. Anytime he went on vacation, she's just like, please, Clyde, go back to work. Because like, he would drive her crazy not having anything to do or not being at work.
Yeah. It's like we function well because I have my time and you have your time and we got too much time together. Like,
yep.
Like, he's about to go on a work trip and for training, and he's leaving a day before the actual like training starts. He's like, is that okay? And I'm like, go.
You're like, can you leave sooner?
Yeah. Like, love you, but go. You're going to be gone for 3 days? Cool. Awesome. Like, like, I will be just fine. I got Bubba. We'll be just fine. like, but yeah. All right, you ready to get into this?
Let's rock and or roll, my dude.
All right. So, like Johnny already said, in these episodes, we're going to be talking about chakras. Specifically in this episode, we're going to be talking with kind of the history of chakras, kind of where did they originate, and all that jazz that comes with that. And then we're going to get into the crown chakra because I thought you went from the head down, not the other way around. The actual practice of chakras is quite old. Some say it goes back all the way to 500 BC. It is quoted in a text called Vedas. But before we begin, and this is going to be a pause moment, and then we're going to have a pause moment later on. There are two very different concepts of chakras. There is the concept that we have here in our Western culture, and then there is the concept in the other Eastern cultures where it originated from, with Hinduism and Buddhism and all that stuff over there. Because if you can find multiple blogs from multiple places about how Western is different from Eastern, and that's just like with everything. There's two versions here. So, and we'll talk about.
And now, I want to say before we dig into this, that being said, neither one of them is wrong as long as you're being respectful and you educate yourself properly.
Yes. And I say that, I'm going to be saying that multiple times throughout this. This is the research that I have done quite quickly. This is basically a summary. If you aligning your chakras, is that something that you want to be doing? I highly suggest doing the right amount of research that feels comfortable for you. Just like everything in life, this journey is your journey. This is not my journey. Me telling you your journey, this is your journey. You do what's right for your path in your journey. You do the level of research and whatnot for what you want to do. Because we'll get into it later about the amount of chakras and everything. Because I have a visual I want you to see in one of my crystal books. Because we'll talk about like crystals and stuff.
I mean, there's all different numbers depending on tradition and all that, but yeah, we can get into that later.
Yeah.
Some of those are just like, what the fuck? But
yeah, there's you can go from 3 to 88,000 chakras
because of like sub chakras and
Yep. So before we begin, we're gonna kind of define what exactly is a chakra. So chakra translates to wheel from Sanskrit to English. And it is defined as focal points of meditation within the human body. They mark places where spiritual energies intersect. They're often visualized as either discs, wheels, or flowers, specifically lotus flowers, is what I was finding. And then, your chakra is kind of the main focal point, and then you've got the energy channels between each focal point. So chakras they're part of an esoteric set of ideas and concepts about psychology and psychic centers that have emerged in Indian traditions and cultures. The belief that is held is that human life simultaneously exists between two parallel dimensions, one physical body and then the other psychological, the emotional, non-physical part of the mind, which is called the subtle body. The subtle is energy, where the physical body is obviously some form of mass. The belief is that these two interact and they constantly affect the other. The subtle body consists of nadi, which is the energy channels that are connected by nodes of psychic energy, which is your chakras. And this is where we're going to pause. So, depending on your belief, you're going to have, there are many systems of chakras. And it can go from 3 chakras, 5, 6, 7. We're focusing on the 7 chakra or the 6+1 system, which is it's often called depending on your research. But the dominated is this 6+1. In the crystal book that I have, it goes into 12. Can you see that very well?
I have seen that. I've also seen a 13 system.
Well, it goes into
which is...
18. I just looked. It's 18. It goes all the way to your heels, all the way past the crown. So
I don't think I've ever seen an 18 system, but I think we're gonna take it. We're gonna stick to like the
basic 7,
which is the most commonly used system.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like if we do anything more than that, we're gonna get a lot of people that's confused. And just like with anything we've said in this podcast, if this is something that you want to do, like I eventually want to find a Reiki healer, but that's a story for another day. I'm going to do plenty of research before I'm ready for that. If you are like, you know what, it's time for me to align my chakras, let's figure out how to do this. Do plenty of research before you do anything, like, and gather as much research as you feel comfortable having before you start that. And I found that in the Encyclopedia of Crystals by Judy Hall, the revised and expanded edition. I only have this out is because of the different crystals she notes in the book, like what chakra it is, and I didn't realize she talks about 18. Holy shit. I did not realize that. So, and it is thought that the chakras are located basically along your spinal column. So, how did we get to our modern Western version? It's a little complicated and it gets a little confused. So we really start to see the mention of our 7 chakra system in a 13th century postscriptal text. So this, and I'm leaving out names of these texts because I do not want to fuck up these names. So
that's fair enough.
I have left the names out of the text and stuff that we'll be talking about because I don't want to fuck it up and offend anybody. So I fully admit that I will not pronounce how they're supposed to be. So this text describes the 7 chakra system. It's kind of a very plain Jane system that they describe. But they also acknowledge that there are multiple chakra systems. This isn't just the only one. There are multiple ways kind of do this type thing. And then as time goes on in the 14th and 15th century, you know, things are more elaborately described. But how we get to our most modern version is through Pernadia's 16th century work. This is kind of a series of texts that come out that kind of describe our 7 chakra system. And then it is horribly translated by John Woodruff in 1918. And that's kind of where the Eastern and Western you kind of see the shift in this chakra because of this horribly translated thing by John that we as a Western culture just kind of fucking take and run with. Like, that
doesn't sound like us at all.
Yeah. So, and I found a very good quote, and it's from this Harshish.org. It's a blog that I found that, you know, that's all he talks about is chakras and Buddhism and all that stuff. But he has a quote Quote, it's also true that the westernized seven chakra system is based on early 20th century occultists' interpretation of a flawed translation of a non-scriptal source. So we translated something, and we translated it badly, and we made it even more confusing than it already was. And we fucking ran with it.
And this is why it's important to have proper education on stuff, and
Yes.
like if you're learning something or if you're trying to transcribe something, or try to go back to source material or as close to source material as you can.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to have all sorts of weird fuckery.
Yes. Because in the kind of Eastern cultures of chakras, you don't have as many associations as we do today. There's kind of like an emotional state that's kind of, and I'm kind of very loosely, in that 13th century like text system that came out that I will not try to pronounce. You don't necessarily find each chakra associated with something, but you find each lotus chakra is associated with a distinct emotion or psychological state. So there's not necessarily a, like, this is what this is. Like, if your root chakra is unbalanced, then these are all the emotions that go with it. It's kind of like, this is kind of what that means. It's not... Mm-hmm. I was finding that it's not... We are very black and white in our culture, and it's not... This is not a black or white type situation. There's a little bit of a gray area, and that's okay. Like, nothing is ever set in stone. So, but we do get a lot of the associations with our chakras from a lady called, what's her name? The name of that book you showed me earlier.
Oh,
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Anna D. Judith, PhD.
Yeah, so she wrote a book called The Wheels of Life. And she kind of writes what we start to associate each chakra with. This does grow over time. I don't think she wrote with the intent, with the amount that's associated with each one now. Because it says that she pulls similarities. She pulled perceived similarities that were already kind of out there, and that's what her book is based off of when she did her research. But the Western version is basically produced by Carl Jung. He's huge in psychology. Joseph Campbell, Charles W. Leadbeater. In some sources, I found that Helena Blavatsky had her fingers in this at the time.
Yep.
So you have to think the major people in the spiritualist movement is basically what shapes our Western version of chakras. So it's just like anything, do your research before, because holy shit. So when this first came over to the States in about 1880, each chakra was associated with something on the nerve plexus down the spine. In the 1920s, after John Woodruff's translation came out, each chakra got associated with a endocrine gland.
Endocrine.
And that's basically,
The endocrine glands.
Thank you. And that's kind of what's persisted, kind of. Now you kind of see a kind of morph between the two of, there is some ones that are associated with just nerves, there is some associated with glands, and there's some that are associated with both. And then...
So one of the things I love about the Wheels of Life book is that it actually goes in and like It's like this chakra is generally associated with this part of the body, and it actually
Yeah.
gives you like there's really nice detailed drawings that give you like say if it's this part of your body and this part of your nervous system, and it actually has that drawn out, which I think is really really nifty.
Mm-hmm. The rainbow colors that that is now associated with each one, that comes from Leadbeater in 1927. And it depends on which chakra kind of thing you're seeing. Some it's the full rainbow, and then sometimes the crown chakra is white instead of purple. So that's kind of where it divides for that. But that is just a super brief summary of how chakras kind of came to be in the Western cultures. Obviously, we just fuck shit up as a Western society.
That never happens. What are you talking about?
Like I was doing all this like little bit of research before we did this, and I was like, we cannot, one, keep our fingers out of shit, and two, we can't just not fuck it up. Like, I'm like, holy shit. We just can't keep our fingers out of the pot.
It's fucking white people, man.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking white people.
We're fucking stupid. So I figured we would start with the one that is considered the plus one, which is the crown chakra. So in some, it's the 6 normal chakras. It stops at the third eye. It goes from root to third eye, and then it stops, and then the crown is considered a plus one. So this is typically, it's located above your head, where like a crown would sit above your head. Mm-hmm. Up here. I don't know why I'm doing visuals, and you're the only fucker that's gonna look at me. So this chakra tends to be associated with our connection to the divine. So when you are enacting, you have to think, and you have to think kind of logically with each chakra when you hit each one. Like, this is above your head, so you're dealing with kind of things that are above you. So you're dealing with the universe, you're dealing with the divine, whoever you see as the divine, and stuff like that. So you're learning to trust the universe, you're learning to trust the divine, whatever you believe in, because you're going to be learning about your spirituality in this process. This chakra is all about knowingness, knowing how to learn to trust the universe, learning to trust the divine, but also learning how to trust yourself to trust the divine. I was reading, it's a lot of like, you got to trust yourself in order to trust the divine in the universe. So this is often described as a 1,000-petaled lotus. So it's like 20 layers of like 50 petals all the way around. It looks absolutely cool. And this covers the brain, the nervous system, and the pituitary gland. So we see both nervous system and gland here. Now I pulled this from a website. I forget what website. How to know if your crown chakra is open. So you're going to tell me if I'm right or not, or if I'm just full of hooey. And some of these I feel are kind of like contradictory a little bit, because some of them are like weird signs if you're blocked, if your crown chakra is blocked. So if you get a tingly feeling in your head, in the top part of your head, because your crown is opening, so you're willing to receive messages. A change in your sleep, you might start to sleep lightly, or you might also start having very lucid, vivid dreams. Body or head pains, a change in your taste, And they point out vivid dreams, which I was like, well, if you have a change in your sleep and you're having more lucid dreaming, then you're having more vivid dreaming too. And an ability to detach from your emotions, but also acknowledge that you're going to feel overwhelmed sometimes. The desire to isolate, clarity of thought, acceptance of things around you, heightened intuition, a change in your beliefs, increased ability to manifest, feeling connected to the universe and maybe the divine, a sense of peace, and then signs that your chakra is blocked or unbalanced. You get headaches and migraines. I'm going to call that hooey because...
I mean, like half the stuff that you said or a lot of the stuff you said for, uh, it being open, several things just sounds like, hey, you're autistic. And
Yeah.
then a few a few
Yeah.
of the things I can see that, but I wouldn't really. I don't know if
I
I would
wouldn't really
associate
call it
them
that.
with. Yeah, I don't know if I'd associate that with the crown chakra.
I would say that because it is dealing with the divine and it is dealing with the universe, you signs that you're like okay is in your balance is you have learned to trust yourself and your intuition. You've also learned to trust the universe and the divine with whatever path you are on. That to me is you're not questioning. You're allowed to question, but you're not really questioning where you're going in your path.
Right.
Like, that's what I kind of took from it as I was doing this, was you don't question your path anymore. You're allowed to question, like, people and, like, kind of things around you, but the path that the universe has out for you, you don't question that. That, to me, is, like, your balance within your crown. And you've learned to, like, trust your gut. You don't question your gut. You got that Gibbs gut, and you're not questioning it. Fucking love that show.
Fucking nerd.
I fucking love that show. Because, like, one of the signs they said was blocked or unbalanced was poor sleep. Well, I'm a light sleeper. The dog freaking runs in his sleep and I'm up. He farts too loud and I'm awake. Like, I've always been a light sleeper type situation. So I'm just like, I've always been that way. I've always been that way. Poor coordination, low energy, and depression, which those go hand in hand with sleep. And so is feeling exhausted. But, like, these ones I kind of felt like were ones that, like, it's blocked. You feel lost or confused. You feel like you're constantly not good enough. You don't feel where you belong. You feel unworthy of love and respect. You feel like your life is meaningless. You feel like you're disconnected from everybody in the world. You don't trust that higher power. Then you've really disassociated with your body. Okay. I feel like that's the proper, like, your crown chakra is blocked.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. And the main way to open this is to meditate, but it's the top one because you start from the bottom up, which I did not know. Hey, you learned. It just shows that I am learning just as much as everybody else. And so essential oils associated with the crown chakra: lavender, frankincense, lotus, and rosewood. Crystals: amethyst, clear quartz, selenite, and diamond, Herkimer diamond. And then the mantras, your typical mantras would start with, like, I know. Affirmations or something totally different. If you're wanting for, like, affirmations, it would be like, I'm connected with my higher power. I am at one with the divine type things. There's tons of different yoga poses that you can use. There is no wrong yoga pose. There are more crystals out there. There are more oils out there than just the ones that I have said. there are different ways besides if meditation isn't something that works for you. There are other ways to open that chakra without just meditating.
I mean, even exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I have a problem with meditating. I have a problem with clearing my little brain. So I would have to do the other things first doing that. My husband, on the other hand, no problem meditating. No problem at
Yeah.
all. None.
I can do guided meditations, but if it's not guided meditations, then I have issues with it doing it.
That sounds about right. Like, well, and that's why I want to go to I need to find like a Reiki healer. That is something that I kind of want to do on my own. I've expressed to my brother that that's something I want to do, especially with the relationships in my life that I have, specifically with my grandpa. I know I'm done carrying it around, but like I want to make sure that like my body's done doing that shit.
Yeah.
Type thing. So that's just for me. But like in my crystal book, we'll go to purple because purple is the crown here.
Purple is the brow, usually.
Well, like the first one I just pulled to. I don't even know how to pronounce that. A-Z... Huh?
I said, what's it say?
Azurite.
Azurite?
Yeah, it says third eye crown, higher crown, soma. Like, blue opal. Specifically blue opal. Agua Cora quartz. That's a higher crown. Oh, that's... Let's see. Oh, Siberian blue quartz. That's both third eye and crown. I'm just higher heart. That's interesting. Like I'm just like quick glance. You can find what works best for you. That's the one thing with anything medical, physical that I have found is that it's purely what works for you. Mm-hmm. It's a what works for you type thing. Because not everything's gonna work for everybody. Larmara? Larimar. It looks really cool.
Lamaria?
That's both third eye and crown. It looks really cool. Whoop. Fucking papers in here. Yeah, see? Oh, that doesn't even do it justice.
That is pretty cool looking though.
Like, but I'm just like flipping through a crystal book, and it's just I have a couple different encyclopedias. That's just me because I like ones that are real quick that I can reference. But like blue lace agonite, that's both third eye and crown. I find it interesting. Some of these, past life. Ooh, lapis lazuli. That's one of my husband's favorite. It is both. It's also your throat chakra, which I find very interesting. Maybe I should look up moonstone because that's my fucking wedding band. That's my wedding ring. Because like I have a soft spot for amethyst. I like all colors of amethyst. And amethyst is a really good one. That's really
amethyst is also the sobriety stone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also good for grief, your immune system.
Throwing at people.
Huh?
instead of throwing at people.
Yeah, it is. Hey, you know what? Anything's a weapon if you throw it hard enough. Let me see if I can find, because my engagement ring is moonstone. My husband actually did very good research with that. I thought it was funny, like, clear quartz was, like, part of that, and it's like, well, no shit, Sherlock. Like, that's good for fucking everything. I was reading in a couple of different places that, moldavite, which I thought was kind of a little interesting, because moldavite is something that you use when you're kind of, like, you're stuck. Moldavite's very, very powerful transformation stone. If that is something that you want to seek out and use, I would. It's not for the faint of heart. There are other crystals that you can use that help with transformation of just not just relationships with everything in your life than moldavite. Yeah. There are other, not weaker, but less intense transformation stones than moldavite. So it's not for the faint of heart. Yeah, so moonstone, that is what my engagement ring is. That's good with your solar plexus and your third eye. Helps with deep emotional healing. Oh, disorders of the upper digestive tract related to emotional stress. But moonstone is mainly known as the female reproductive stone. It has always been associated with the female reproductive organs because of the moon and its cycle, and that's how our cycle has always been tracked for a very long time. Said to protect sailors at sea and travelers on water. More potent during a waxing moon and less during a waning. That's interesting. Like, when we were doing research for, like, when we wanted to get married, we did not know that we'd pick the equinox. My mom thought I, like, totally did that on weird accident, or I purposely did that totally by accident.
I mean, that's the kind of thing you would do.
Yeah. We were actually going more for the waxing. Is that what it's called? Before the full moon?
Yes.
The waxing. So we were
waxing
going
is
more.
Coming on, waning is going off.
That's what I thought.
Wax on, wane off.
Thank you. Because now I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. We were going more forward towards a waxing moon because of how that we know that as a couple, we're always going to be growing and transforming. So we wanted to make sure that, because he proposed to me during a full moon, but I didn't want to get married during a full moon. I wanted to get it so it symbolized us as a couple constantly growing, constantly changing. And that was the research that we did with the moon cycles when we got married.
Yeah.
But are you ready to do our cards? Because we both pulled major this week.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
I can start. So I pulled strength. Keywords are bravery, compassion, focus, and inner strength. Strength shows its power not by intimidation or by force, but rather through radiating self-confidence and assurance. Neither the lion nor the woman is in combat, but rather they implicitly trust each other. This union gives the pair both compassion and bravery and inner strength to do what is right. The card lesson, my compassion to myself sets the foundation for my compassion to others. Oh, it says yes. This is a yes card, not a no card. The astrology is Leo. Fire element. Okay. All right. What did you pull, my friend?
So I pulled, I've said this before, a lot of people don't do reverse cards. I do.
Yes.
But I pulled death reversed. And a lot of people are like, oh no, it's death, blah, 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 spooky, spooky.
We had a conversation before we started.
Yeah, which is fine, but that's not necessarily what death means. Death typically means some sort of transition. Uh,
End of something.
but, upright, if it were upright, death is a card of transformation and typically refers to needing to start over and letting go of the past. In the reverse position, like this one, death can mean that you are on the verge of a meaningful change, but you are resisting it.
Hmm.
You may be reluctant to let go, and you may not know how to make that change you need. You still carry harmful viewpoints from the past that may interfere with a new opportunity because of your refusal. Life has stagnated and you feel stuck in limbo. Death Reverse offers you the opportunity to embrace change rather than resist it. See what wonderful possibilities become available to you as you say yes to change. As you learn to release the past and surrender to the present, the future becomes even brighter. Uh, to support the process, repeat this affirmation. Uh, I embrace change in all forms. You'll be surprised at how this subtle shift in energy allows new doors to open in ways you may never have expected. So, it's about not holding yourself back and moving forward and attempting to move forward with things
Mm-hmm.
and not letting yourself be limited by your past.
But also have compassion for yourself while everything
Nah,
in your life is changing.
I don't need that.
Why would we do that?
Why
Why?
would I be compassionate for myself?
It's hard. It's hard to be nice to yourself. It
Yeah,
is.
it is.
It's so much easier to be nice to other people than it is to be nice to yourself. It is. It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Well, and I hadn't told you this. I've been kind of thinking about it, and I've talked to a few friends of mine about it, and they say I should do it. But I've actually been thinking about possibly taking up writing.
I think you'd be good at it.
So, which is, I have a lot of negative thoughts about that, but this could very well be a statement saying, "Hey, you should totally do this."
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, and you're always going to have critics no matter what you do in life. You're always going to have people that are going to be criticizing everything that you do and always bad mouthing everything that you do. You can never please anybody. That's the one thing I learned with getting married and having a wedding is I can't please everybody no matter how hard I try, and fuck it. I'm just going to make sure that I'm happy in the end.
yeah, there were a few people who were not thrilled by your wedding, which is my thought on that is, you know what? It's not their fucking wedding, so it sucks to be them.
Well, and I knew that I don't hold beliefs like every other person in the world, and just like every other person in the world, my beliefs are different from your beliefs. And I wanted to do what fit well with my husband and I. And that was having my best friend be my officiant because I knew that I didn't want to go through um a church for and go through church classes to tell me that I work well with my husband and type thing. Um, that is not my theology. That is not what I believe. So I'm not going to do that. Um, and I also knew that because of that, not everyone was going to be okay with that.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter because you are not the person I sleep with and who I am choosing to have that part of a deep intimacy with in my life. So
Yep.
if you don't like it, you can just shove your opinion up your ass because I didn't ask for it. So
Yep.
that's how I kind of felt about that because I knew that I wasn't going to please everybody with that. But all that mattered was that my husband was happy with the ceremony and that he
Yep.
was okay with it because I decided not long after we met that was the type of ceremony that I wanted. And I didn't want to do it any other way. Like, I had a vision, and that was my vision from the get-go. Like, because the longer we became friends, the more I realized that I don't believe what everybody believes. I don't believe mainstream society. And I knew that I just didn't want a Christian ceremony. Every wedding that I have gone to and I've seen like a normal Christian ceremony, that has never sat well with me. And like my husband and I, we have a friend that's getting married in a couple weeks, and we have to sit through a full Catholic mass wedding. So that's going to be fun.
Have fun, my dude.
I might burn the moment I step in that church.
I can't wait for you to review that one.
Whew. But I knew that through the weddings that I have gone to, that every Christian ceremony just, it never sat right with me, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And even if my parents weren't comfortable with it, I could give 2 fucks less. Like, I don't really care. Like, you're not the person. Yes, you are a part of my life, but in your opinion as my parent matters. But I'll take it into consideration. But it's not ultimately what's defining this moment. It's what my husband's comfortable with, not what you're comfortable with. Exactly. If you get uncomfortable with something, then maybe you should figure out why that makes you uncomfortable.
I agree.
That's just me, though. But
no, I agree with you fully.
Like, no matter what you write, you're going to have people that, and no matter what you do in life, not just writing, you're going to have people that are not going to be cheering for you. And all that matters is that you're listening to the people that are cheering for you. Like, I think that if writing is something that you want to do, I think that you should go for it. I think that you would be very good at it. Well, especially with...
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just think that I think as readers, I think a lot of readers would make good writers, and I think that you are one of those people.
Yeah.
And I think it would help with you having me time.
Yeah.
And also, it's nice being creative.
Well, and the friend that I talked to that, like, he's just like, yeah, no, you should totally do this. You'd be good at this. And I'm just like, I don't know. And, like, I mentioned it in, like, just an offhand, like, passing comment. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing I know, he's bringing me, like, 3 notebooks. And he's like, because he's an artist and does, like, all sorts of drawings and sketches and prints and everything. And he comes up to me and he's like, hey, I had these laying around. Sometimes it helps me if I, just have a sketchbook with me and, like, start doodling and jotting down stuff sometimes. And we're just like, out of nowhere, after me just briefly mentioning it. And that means a lot, like, just having that support network and having people that say, you can do this, you should do this.
Yeah. I believe you totally should. Totally.
So, but I think that's a good place for us to end.
This is also coming from the girl that goes to the 9-foot end of the pool with things.
That's fair.
She finds an interest and she goes to the 9-foot end of the pool.
That's fair. But I think that's
so I'm just like, you go. Like, you want to, and I also realized that going to the 9-foot end of the pool with things is not how everybody does things.
It is not.
I'm finding that out as I married someone that tiptoes into things, and I am like the kid that cannonballs into the 9-foot end. He goes, we sink or swim. Like, I'm that person. And that's what's funny about, like, homesteading is I'm having to find homesteading. For anybody that doesn't homestead teaches you patience, and I'm learning to slow down. It's nice. But you can't just go to the 9-foot end and, like, be the kid that cannonballs, because you have to back up, because there are things that you need to learn way before you get there. And we're getting there. But yeah. So, as always, please rate, review, subscribe. Please tell a friend. we got 2 more episodes. So the next episode we're going to be going through the bottom 3 chakras, your root in those 3.
And those 3.
Yep, and those other 2. If you have a book suggestion, if you have a topic that you think we should talk about next, or a cryptid that you find interesting that we haven't heard of, or just anything in general, please email us at thewayroaddragons@gmail.com. That's also in the show notes. I put all that stuff in the show notes. So yeah. So until next time.
I'm Johnny.
And I'm Kelsey.
Bye.
Bye.